Thus, for opening a sutra, the unsurpassed profound and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of aeons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. The wonderful Dharma, Lotus Flower Sutra, the merit and virtue of a Dharma master. Sutra. At that time, the Buddha told the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, ever vigorous, if a good man or a good woman receives and upholds the Dharma Flower Sutra, whether reading it, reciting it, explaining it to others, or writing it out, that person will obtain 800 meritorious virtues of the eyes, 1200 meritorious virtues of the ears, 800 meritorious virtues of the nose, 1200 meritorious virtues of the tongue, 800 meritorious virtues of the body, and 1200 meritorious virtues of the mind. By means of these meritorious virtues, he adorns his 6 faculties, causing them all to become pure. This good man or woman, thus purifying the ordinary physical eyes that he or she was endowed with at birth, will see throughout the 3,000 great thousand world system, inside and out, all the mountains, forests, rivers, and seas, below to the Avicii hells, and above to the peak of existence. Such a person will also see all the living beings therein, as well as the karmic causes and conditions, rewards and retributions, and places of birth. All of those he will see and know. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to restate this meaning, spoke verses saying, if within the great assembly one speaks this Dharma Flower Sutra, with a heart free of fear, listen to me tell of his merit and virtue. This person will gain 800 supreme meritorious virtues of the eyes, and because of this adornment, his eyes will be very clear and pure. With the eyes given him from birth, he will see throughout the 3,000 great thousand world system, inside and out, Mount Meru, Sumeru, and the Iron Ring Range, as well as the other mountains and forests, the waters of the great seas, rivers, and streams, below to the Avicii hell, above to the peak of existence, and all the living beings within. All of this he will completely see, although he has not yet gained the heavenly eye. His flesh eyes will have powers such as these. Furthermore, ever vigorous, if a good man or a good woman receives and upholds this sutra, whether reading it, reciting it, explaining it to others, or writing it out, that person will obtain 1200 meritorious virtues of the ears. With his pure ears, he will hear throughout the 3,000 great thousand world system, inside and out, below to the Avicii hell, and above to the peak of existence, all the various sounds and voices, such as sounds of elephants, horses, cows, and carriages, sounds of sobbing and sighing, sounds of conches, drums, gongs, and bells, sounds of laughter and talking, sounds of men, women, boys and girls, sounds of Dharma and non-Dharma, sounds of suffering and joy, sounds of common people and sages, sounds of happiness and unhappiness, sounds of gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and mahoragas, sounds of fire, water, wind, sounds of hell beings, animals, and hungry ghosts, sounds of bhikshus and bhikshunis, sounds of hearers, Pachika Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas. In general, although he has not yet obtained the heavenly ear, by using the pure ordinary ears given to him at birth, he can hear and know whatever sounds they may be, inside and outside the 3,000 great thousand world system. In this way, he distinguishes between all the various sounds, and still his hearing is not impaired. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to restate this meaning, spoke verses saying, "The ears he was born with are pure and without filth. With his ordinary ears, he hears sounds of the 3,000 great thousand world system, sounds of elephants, horses, carriages, and cows, gongs, bells, conches, and drums, sounds of lutes and harps, sounds of pipes and flutes, and sounds of clear, fine chants. He hears these, but is not attached to them. Hearing the sounds of countless kinds of people, he can understand them all. He also hears the sounds of the gods, their subtle, elegant voices raised in song. He also hears the sounds of men and women, the sounds of young boys and girls, as well as the Kalavinka sound, coming from the mountains, streams, and deep ravines. He hears all the sounds of the jiva, jivaka, and other birds, the bedlam of misery and pain in the hells, the sounds of all the torture there. He hears the sounds of hungry ghosts, driven by hunger and thirst, as they seek for food and drink, and the mighty roar put forth by all of the asuras, as they dwell beside the sea, bickering among themselves. In this way, one who speaks the Dharma can dwell securely there and hear the faraway multitude of sounds, and yet there is no harm to his hearing. Throughout all the 10 directions, birds and bees cry out to one another. The one who speaks the Dharma can hear them, one and all. As for the sounds in speech of the Brahma gods, the like sound gods, and those of pervasive purity, up to the heaven of the peak of existence, the Dharma master here in the world can hear them, one and all. The entire assembly of bhikshus and bhikshunis, whether reading or reciting sutras, or speaking them for others, the Dharma master dwelling here can hear them, one and all. Further, all the bodhisattvas reading or reciting the Sutra Dharma, or speaking it for others, or compiling commentaries on its meaning, all such sounds as these he hears in detail. All the Buddhas, greatly sagely honored ones, teaching and transforming living beings, in the midst of the great assemblies, expounding upon the subtle, wondrous Dharma, can be heard by one who holds the Dharma flower. All the sounds inside and out of the 3,000 great thousand world system, below to the Avicii hell, and above to the heaven of the peak of existence, can each and every one be heard, and still his hearing is not harmed. Since his ears are keen and sharp, he can discern them all. The one who upholds the Dharma flower, although he has not yet gained the heavenly ear, merely using the ears he was born with, already has meritorious virtues such as these. Further, ever vigorous, if a good man or a good woman receives and upholds this sutra, whether reading it, reciting it, explaining it to others, or writing it out, he will accomplish 800 meritorious virtues of the nose. With his pure nose, he will smell throughout the 3,000 great thousand world system above and below, inside and outside, all the various fragrances, the scents of the sumana, jatika, malika, champaka, patala flowers, scents of red, blue, and white lotus flowers, scents of flowering and fruit-bearing trees, scents of chandana, aloes wood, tamalapatra, and tagara, and scents of 1,000 myriad kinds mixed together, whether powdered, in lumps, or in paste. One who upholds this sutra, dwelling in this place, can distinguish all of these. Again, he can further distinguish the scents of living beings, the scents of elephants, horses, cows, sheep, and so forth, scents of men, women, boys and girls, as well as scents of grasses, trees, thickets, and forests. All these scents, whether near or far, he can smell and distinguish without mistake. Although one who upholds the sutra dwells here, he can smell the scents of all the gods in the heavens, the scents of the parijataka or kovidara trees, as well as the scents of the mandarava, maha-mandarava, manjushaka or maha-manjushaka flowers, the scents of chandana and aloes with powder, and various kinds of powdered incense, and assorted floral scents. Of all these heavenly scents or fragrances arising from the blending of them, there are none he will not smell and know. Further, he will smell the scents of the gods' bodies, the scent of Chakra Devanang Indra in his supreme palace, as he enjoys the pleasures of the 5 desires, or his scent when, from the wonderful Dharma hall, he speaks the Dharma for the gods of the Triastimsa heaven, or his scent when he plays in his gardens, as well as the scents of the bodies of other gods or goddesses. All these he can smell from afar. In the same way, up to and including the Brahma realms and the peak of existence, he can smell the scents of all the gods and at the same time smell the incense burned by the gods, the scent of hearers, the scent of the Pacheka Buddhas, the scent of the Bodhisattvas, and the scent of the Buddhas. All of these he can smell from afar and know where they are. Although he smells these fragrances, his sense of smell is not harmed and makes no mistakes. Although he wished to distinguish and explain them for others, his memory will not fail him. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to restate this meaning, spoke verses saying, "This person's nose is pure, and within the world, all odors, fragrant or fatigue, he can completely smell and know. Sumana and jatika, tamala and chandana, the scents of aloes wood and cassia, the scents of various flowers and fruits, the scents of living beings, the scents of men and women. The speaker of Dharma, at a distance, smells them and knows where they are. The great and mighty wheel-turning kings, the minor wheel-turners and their sons, ministers and courtiers, by their sense he knows where they are. The jewels worn on the body, the jewel treasuries in the earth, the wheel-turning king's jeweled women, smelling their scents, he knows where they are. The ornaments adorning people's bodies, their clothing, beads, various kinds of perfumes, smelling their scents, he knows where they are. The gods, whether walking or sitting, or playing with their spiritual transformations, the upholder of the Dharma flower, having smelled their scents, knows them all. The trees with the flowers and fruits, the fragrance of clarified butter, the one who holds the sutra, dwelling here, knows the location of them all. In the deep recesses of the mountains, the chandana trees in bloom, and the beings dwelling therein, smelling their scents, he knows them all. The living beings on Iron Ring Mountain, in the great seas or in the earth, by their sense the holder of this sutra knows the location of them all. The male and female asuras and their retinues, their quarrels and their play, by smelling their scents he can know them. In the wilds or ravines, lions, elephants, tigers, and bulls, wild oxen and water buffalo, smelling their scents he knows where they are. Should a woman be pregnant with a child, whose sex has not yet been determined, nor is it known if it is a freak or non-human, smelling the scent he can know. By the power of his smelling, he can know when she first conceived, whether the fetus is mature, and if she will safely bear a blessed child, by the power of his smelling. He knows what men and women are thinking, their defiling desires, stupidity, and hateful thoughts. He also knows those who cultivate goodness. The gold, silver, and jewels, hidden in the earth's storehouses, filling copper vessels, smelling the scents, he knows them all. Various kinds of beads, whose value cannot be known. By smelling their scent, he knows their value, where they came from and where they are now. All the flowers in the heavens, Mandarava and Manjushaka, the Parijata trees, smelling their scents, he can know them. The palaces in the heavens, superior, middling, or inferior, adorned with many jewels and flowers, smelling their scents, he can know them all. Heavenly gardens, groves, and supreme palaces, towers and wondrous Dharma halls, the amusements to be found therein, smelling their scents, he can know them all. The gods, whether listening to the Dharma or enjoying the pleasures of the 5 desires, coming or going, walking, sitting, or reclining, by the sense he can know them completely. The garments worn by the goddesses, their adornments of flowers and perfume, as they ramble around for pleasure, by the sense he knows them all, proceeding thus upward, reaching to the Brahma heavens, those who enter dhyana and those who leave it, smelling the scents he knows them all, the heavens of like sound and pervasive purity, on up to the peak of existence, those just born there and those sliding down, smelling their scents he knows them all, the hosts of bhikshus ever vigorous in the Dharma, whether sitting or walking, reading or reciting the sutra, or in the woods beneath trees, concentrated sitting in dhyana, the one who upholds the sutra, smelling their scents knows where they are. Bodhisattvas of solid resolve, whether sitting in dhyana or reading and reciting, or speaking the Dharma to others, smelling their scents he knows them all. In any place the world-honored one may be, there revered by the multitudes, as he pities them and speaks the Dharma. By smelling the scent he knows this completely. Living beings in the Buddha's presence, hearing the sutra and rejoicing, cultivate in accord with Dharma. By smelling the scents he completely knows them. Even though he hasn't yet attained the Bodhisattva's non-outflow Dharma knows, still the upholder of this sutra will first attain a nose with such characteristics. Moreover, ever vigorous, if a good man or a good woman receives and upholds this sutra, whether reading, reciting, explaining it to others, or writing it out, he or she will gain 1200 meritorious virtues of the tongue. All things, whether good or bad tasting, savory or unsavory, bitter or astringent, when they come in contact with his tongue, will change into things of superior flavor, like heavenly sweet dew. None will not be flavorful. If he lectures amidst a great assembly, his sound will be profound and wonderful, penetrating their minds and causing them all to be joyful and happy. Further, all the gods and goddesses, Shakra, Brahma, and all the gods, hearing these profound, wonderful sounds of his orderly exposition, will all come to listen. All the dragons, female dragons, yakshas, female yakshas, Gandharvas, female Gandharvas, Asuras, female Asuras, Garudas, female Garudas, Kinnaras, female Kinnaras, Mahoragas and female Mahoragas, in order to hear the Dharma, will draw near him and reverently make offerings to him. The bhikshus and bhikshunis, upasakas and upasikas, kings, princes, ministers and retinues, minor wheel-turning kings and great wheel-turning kings, with the 7 treasures, thousands of sons and their inner and outer retinues, will all ride their palaces there to listen to the Dharma. Because this Bodhisattva skillfully speaks the Dharma, the Brahmans, lay people and citizens of the country will follow him for as long as he lives, serving and making offerings to him. Further, the hearers, Pachika Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas will always take delight in seeing him. Wherever this person is, the Buddhas are right in front of him, speaking the Dharma. He is also able to receive and uphold all the Buddha Dharma and to put forth the profound and wondrous Dharma sound. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to restate this meaning, spoke verses saying, "This person's tongue is pure and will never taste foul flavors. All of the food he eats turns into sweet dew. Using the profound, pure, and wondrous sound, he speaks the Dharma for the great assembly, using causes, conditions, and analogies to guide the minds of living beings, who, on hearing him, rejoice and make superior offerings. The gods, dragons, yakshas, and asuras, and so forth, all with reverent minds, come to hear the Dharma. This person who speaks the Dharma, should he wish with a wondrous sound to pervade 3,000 worlds, as he wishes he will be able to do so. Wheel-turning kings, great and minor, their thousands of sons and their retinues, with palms joined and reverent minds, always come to hear and receive the Dharma. The gods, dragons, yakshas, raksasas, and pisachas, also with happy hearts, always delight in coming to make offerings. The god King Brahma, King Mara, self-mastery, and great self-mastery, and all the hosts of gods, always come to where he is. All the Buddhas and their disciples, hearing his sound as he speaks the Dharma, are ever mindful and protective, and sometimes manifest in person. Further, ever vigorous. If a good man or a good woman receives and upholds this sutra, whether reading, reciting, explaining it to others, or writing it out, he will obtain 800 meritorious virtues of the body. He will obtain a pure body, as pure as Vaidurya, which living beings will be delighted to see, because of the purity of his body. Living beings in the 3,000 great thousand world system, whether at the time of birth or at the time of death, above or below, fair or ugly, whether born in a good place or born in an evil place, will all manifest within it. The Iron Ring Mountain, the Great Iron Ring Mountain, Meru Mountain, Maha-Meru Mountain, and the other mountains and all the living beings in their midst will appear within it. Below to the Avicii hells, and above to the peak of existence, all living beings will manifest therein. If hearers, Pachika Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or Buddhas speak the Dharma, they will all manifest their physical images within his body. At that time, the World-Honored One, wishing to restate this meaning, spoke verses saying, if a person holds the Dharma flower, his body will be extremely pure, like that of pure Vaidurya, and living beings will all take delight in seeing him. Also, as in a pure bright mirror, all images are seen. The Bodhisattvas within his pure body sees everything in the world. He alone has clear perception, for these things are not seen by other people. Within 3,000 worlds, all the multitudes of living beings, gods, humans, asuras, hell beings, ghosts, and animals, all such images as these appear within his body. The palaces of the gods, up to the peak of existence, the Iron Ring and Meru, and Maha-Meru mountains, and the waters of all the great seas, all appear within his body. The Buddhas and hearers, disciples of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, whether singly or in a multitude, speaking Dharma, all manifest. Although he has not yet gained the non-outflow, wondrous body of the Dharma nature, within his pure, ordinary body, all things manifest. Further, ever vigorous, if a good man or a good woman, after the passing into stillness of the Thus Come One, receives and upholds this sutra, whether reading, reciting, explaining it to others, or writing it out, he will obtain 1,200 meritorious virtues of the mind. With his pure mind, by hearing so much as a single verse or a single sentence, he will comprehend limitless, boundless meanings. Having understood these meanings, he will then be able to expound on a single sentence or a single verse for as long as a month, 4 months, or up to a year. All the Dharma he speaks will accord with the meaning and purport, and none of it will contradict the real mark. If he speaks on worldly texts, expounds on the principles of government, or follows an occupation to make a living, it will all accord with the proper Dharma. In the 3,000 great thousand-world system, all the living beings of the 6 destinies, their mental processes, their mental activities, the frivolous exertions in their minds, all these he completely knows. Although he has not yet gained the non-outflow wisdom, still his mind is as pure as this. All of this person's thoughts, calculations, or pronouncements are Buddha Dharma, and none are not true and real, and all have been spoken in the sutras of former Buddhas. At that time, the World-Honored One, wishing to restate this meaning, spoke verses saying, this person's mind is pure, bright, sharp, and immaculate. With this wonderful mind, he knows superior, middle, and inferior dharmas. If he hears but a single verse, he comprehends limitless meanings and speaks them in good order, according to Dharma, for a month, 4 months, or a year. Inside and outside this world, all the living beings, be they gods, dragons, or humans, yakshas, ghosts, or spirits, all those in the 6 destinies, all of the different thoughts, the upholder of the Dharma flower, as a reward, knows all at once, the countless Buddhas in the 10 directions, adorned with the marks of 100 blessings, speak the Dharma for living beings. He hears it all and can receive and hold it. He ponders limitless meanings and speaks limitless dharmas too, without a mistake or omission from beginning to end. Because he upholds the Dharma flower, he completely knows the marks of all dharmas and recognizes their meaningful sequence. Knowing the names and words, he expounds on them as he understands them. What this person says is all the Dharma of former Buddhas, and because he expounds on this Dharma, he is fearless in the assembly. The one who upholds the Dharma flower has a pure mind like this. Although he has not yet attained to non-outflow, he already has such marks as these. This person, upholding the sutra, dwells securely on rare ground, and all living beings delight in him, cherish and revere him. He can, with 1,000 myriads of kinds, of skillful clever words, speak the Dharma in detail, because he upholds the Dharma flower.